You've been doing it for a while, and actually you just launched a program, Sigma Society, and you kind of give guys like the blueprint on, how to be attractive, how to get girls, and we've had discussions on this as well. But I think this is something that's definitely needed, especially in today's like dating marketplace. What would you say is like some of the biggest mistakes that guys make when it comes to like getting girls and maintaining that attraction?
Well, it's twofold. There's like what mistakes they do going into interactions, and then there's the mistakes that they make in the relationships. And I think both things were frustrating for me. I was watching my friends in these relationships where they had just lost all their power, and they're just getting bitched around or like kissing ass to a girl that's way fucking beneath them. And then I see a lot of guys getting blown out in the initial interaction because they go in and they just massively over-communicate interest. And I think that's probably the biggest mistake that guys make. And that's kind of what they're told. That's what Hollywood tells them. That's like kind of the accepted thing, is to go up to a girl, give her a bunch of compliments. And the problem with that is it puts her in a position of like, okay, I know I can have this guy. Do I want him? And when you're looking at something through that lens, all the flaws magnify and it just makes a thing less appealing. And I think guys, they just make that mistake and they don't know any better.
Yeah, and I was able to look at like some of your stuff, which thank you for the access to some of it. And you're real big on like telling guys like, hey, to overcome the anxiety, you want to kind of approach it from an indirect perspective. Would you say anxiety and fear of rejection is like most guys' biggest issue when it comes to talking to women?
Yeah, I think it's a big problem. And I think when you go in and take more of an indirect approach where you're not over communicating interest, you don't set yourself up for rejection, right? Like if you go in and tell a girl how beautiful she is, or you ask her out on a date, or you ask her for a number, it's kind of like a binary response. She either has to accept or reject, and usually women's default setting is to reject. So I think that,
even if they like you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, they're just used to it, and then they expect the guy to chase, and then eventually they'll, whatever, but they keep the guy chasing, and that's what these books, like The Rules and all these, books that these women have, it teaches them to do, is to keep the guy chasing. And that just puts them in a massive position of power because their flaws disappear and that guy's flaws magnify. And I just don't want to see guys in that position because it's unnecessary. Like you can go in, you can open the interaction, you can start talking to a girl without letting her know. Like it's like playing poker and these guys just like want to fucking flip their cards over. It's like a lot harder to fucking win in poker when nobody can see your fucking cards.
You mentioned something that is very interesting about the rules and girls reading books. I think this is something that needs to be talked about more. Like guys don't understand that like women actually like read books and practice this crap. Like they don't like a lot of guys go in clueless, but like girls, number one, they already deal with men all the time. And then number two, a lot of them talk to each other about this very thing and there's books on it. Like, can you talk about that a little bit? Like how educated women really are when it comes to like finessing men, dating them, extracting value without necessarily giving value back?
Yeah, I mean, to give the poker analogy again, it's like, women are playing poker and they're just seeing everybody's cards. Well, you get better at poker if you knew everybody's fucking card and then you saw every time somebody's bluff. You know what I mean? You just learn faster. And I feel like that's what happens to women. Like from the time they're like 13, 14 years old, like all these guys are hitting on them, communicating interest, letting them know like, hey, I want to sleep with you. And when they do that, then it's like, okay, they correlate all these things the guys do with a guy wanting to sleep with them. So they're just more socially calibrated. And the way I would, explain it for a guy is it's like the guy just goes in the gym, sees a heavy bag and starts hitting the heavy bag. Well, if you hit a heavy bag for 10,000 hours, you're not going to be a fucking great boxer. But if you get some fucking coaching and some training and you spend fucking 100 hours, you're going to be better than that guy that spent 10,000 hours just drilling in all the fucking bad techniques and all the wrong shit. I think that's what guys do is like, and it's good to have volume. Like it's good to just get out there and fucking do this stuff. But if you don't do it correctly, you're just, your chances of success are going to fucking go down dramatically. And that's true of anything. Fucking golf, I just don't understand why guys will take fucking direction with golf and fucking badminton or ping pong or whatever the fuck ever, chess. They get coaching for everything other than the most important thing that they're fucking doing, which is, choosing their fucking lifelong partner or the girl that they're dating or whoever you're spending the most time with, and that's going to be your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, or somebody you have kids with and now you're stuck with them whether you like it or not for the next 18 fucking years. That's like a pretty important thing. And I feel like guys just assume like, oh, like I got this or I know what the fuck to do. And they just don't.
Yeah, they don't. And it's even worse because like you mentioned all those hours. Like if you mentioned like practice all these hours with bad technique, it's going to like set in and it's way harder to unlearn a bad habit than to learn a new one.
Yeah, like taking a guy that's never done any fucking boxing and just teaching them proper technique from the start is easier than like having them unlearn all the mistakes that they've been making. So, well, I think a guy that goes out and just, has a bunch of experience is going to be better off than a guy that doesn't do anything. I'm just saying, like, there's a version where you can learn the right thing to do and then put in fucking time and get there a lot faster. I'm all about, like, doing the least amount of effort and getting the most amount of volume in the shortest period of time possible. And it's like, I want them to have as many positive interactions as possible, because that's going to give them more confidence. More confidence yields better results. It's kind of like a snowball that can go in one direction or it can go the fucking other.
Yeah.
And most guys, it goes the fucking wrong direction, and then they just, convince themselves I'm not good looking, enough for women, or women don't like me, or whatever. And they're right, but the difference is, like, they can do something about that. And I think that's one thing that guys don't understand is, like, women can't really make themselves that much better looking. Like, they can do a little bit of stuff, but they're born ugly, they're kind of fucked. But guys born ugly, he's still, like...
We can make up in other ways.
He's good.
No, this
like,
is true.
Elon's not good looking. Like,
Yeah.
Seth Rogen's fucking ugly. Like, there's plenty of ugly guys that get a ton of pussy.
Yep.
And, there's just, like, there's 12 different attraction triggers that you can fucking implement. And, like, pre-selection is one that a lot of guys don't understand. That's one that I use, like...
one of the best.
Yeah.
You're one of the best guys when it comes to pre-selection by far.
Buddy, I could go into a club with 2 or 3 girls that really wanted to fuck me, that I had been fucking, that were all over me, and just literally like point at other girls. They didn't even know who the fuck I was, but because hot girls were interested in me, and obviously that's not like a easily transferable one to other guys, but there's different versions of that. Like, you can elicit jealousy pretty fucking easily just on your story, just making girls think about you. Like, let's say you're out at a fucking bar and you take a picture of a martini glass and your beer. Girls are gonna wonder, like, oh, who is he with? You know what I mean? Like, and that's a pretty easy thing to do. So you don't have to have 3 girls lining up to fuck you to implement pre-selection and jealousy and a lot of things that are like really powerful for getting a girl to want to sleep with you.
And it's interesting because not many people talk about this. Obviously guys like yourself, me, we talk about this, but like, conventional dating coaches are like, just be a nice guy, take her out, blah, blah, blah. And I think nowadays, if you're not like willing to talk about these uncomfortable realities when it comes to female nature, like you're just not going to get ahead. And pre-selection is, I would argue, one of the best and strongest triggers, and it's social proof. You can't fake that.
Yeah, it's super powerful. And you got a lot of these like, male dating coaches or guys giving advice that are like super good looking guys that have never had any fucking problems, that, like stuff that works for them is not going to work for the average guy. And then you have women teaching this stuff. And it's like, the women are the worst.
It's comical, man.
Yeah, because they can't even tell you what they want. Like, if you ask most women, like, what they want in a guy, and then you look at the last 5 or 10 guys they fuck, they have, like, almost none of these things.
Yeah.
So, like, they don't even know what they want. And it's not really about what they say that they want. It's what they respond to that I focused on. And so, look, I had a big sample size of girls that wanted to fuck me that I screwed it up with, and a big sample size of girls that wanted to fuck me that I also fucked. And until you have that control group, which most guys don't have, until you have that volume, you can't really run an experiment and figure out like what works and what doesn't work. And I look at, dating kind of like poker. In the beginning, like, everybody had theory, and a lot of guys thought this was the right thing, and there's a lot of guys that agreed. Like, after like 10 years, like all the best players agreed this, and this was
Absolutely.
right. And they had the supercomputers and the quants that just like figured this shit out, and then we realized like how wrong we were about certain things that we were sure of. And I think dating is similar. Like, I think there's a lot of like really bad accepted advice out there that's just dead wrong that a lot of people think is right.
Yeah, and you spent quite a bit of time. Well, obviously, from like dealing with women throughout your lifetime, but you also spend a lot of time like compiling data for this specific program. I remember me and you talking about it almost like 2 years ago. Like, you've been working on this for a while.
Well, so, it was harder than I thought,
Take us through that.
Well, just because a guy can box doesn't mean he can teach somebody how to fucking box, right? And so, like, I had to actually like break down like what would work for other guys, why things worked for me, why things didn't work for me. The big thing was figuring out the mistakes. Like, we just need to start there. Like, if guys just wouldn't make 10 of the most common mistakes, like, they would have 99% better fucking results. So, like, stop making the mistakes. And also, like, small tweaks will have a massive downstream impact on, like, your success or your failure. And so a lot of this isn't necessary. In fact, it's not necessarily like putting in more effort. In fact, a lot of times it's putting in less effort to get a better result. Because a lot of guys correlate this with, like, business, where it's like, I put in a bunch of effort, I get a promotion, I show up at fucking 3 a.m. and change my buddy's tire, I have his back in a fight, like he's gonna be a better friend, like all this stuff, which is true. But all that effort that you put into a girl before you fucked her actually cuts against you.
I agree with, bro. I've always told guys this, like, putting a bunch of sweat equity and time into a girl a lot of the times is actually one of the few endeavors where it's counterproductive.
It's 100% counterproductive.
Yeah.
Like, almost unequivocally. I mean, this is not like in a long-term relationship, right? Like, this is before you fuck the girl.
Yeah.
The more effort that you put in absolutely will cut against you.
Yeah.
And people just, like, don't value what they can have very easily. And if you're fucking chasing after a girl, if you're putting in a ton of effort, you are in that category of somebody that she can fucking have. She knows that she can have you with very little effort because you're the one putting in the effort. 2 people can't fucking chase. Only one person can chase. And so in the relationship, somebody's always pursuing. And, fucking don't want the guy chasing after the girl so hard that she can never chase after him.
You mentioned something really interesting in one of your videos when I was watching, where when guys are chasing, they're almost like in tunnel vision. And when they're in this tunnel vision, they're not necessarily looking at like their mistakes. They're so focused on pursuing the girl and like getting laid that they're not even looking at the behaviors that they're demonstrating to chase after the girl. Can you talk about that in a little bit more detail, why that tunnel vision is so bad?
It puts them in a bad frame. And this is the frame that most guys go into it from, is like, this girl's hot, how do I get her? And what that frame is this girl's looks are enough. I'm going to do whatever I can do to get this girl just based on the fact that she's hot. And most girls do not value the things that they didn't have to work for. She didn't have to work for the fact that she's hot, right? So a hot girl sees a guy pursuing her, and automatically, like anybody pursuing you, anybody that's working hard to get your, attention or respect or whatever, is by default beneath you. Like, you're not trying to fucking impress the janitor.
Yeah.
You're not trying to impress somebody that you don't feel like is better than you.
Yep.
So just by framing the interaction like that, and especially early in the interaction, when these guys go up and over-communicate interest before the girl has earned it in any way, shape, or form based on like who she is, and it's just based on her looks, automatically she's going to look at this guy as like, okay, he's not very discerning, he doesn't have a lot of options, like me being cute is enough, I can have him, do I want him? And that's not the fucking spot that I want these guys going in, especially with hot girls. Because like the hotter the girl, the more motherfuckers that are pursuing her. And when you've got 10 options...
And they're ruthless too.
Yeah, when you got 10
can't
options...
make as many mistakes with a hot chick as you could with like a mid or an ugly girl. Like you make one stupid mistake with a hot girl and you're done.
Yeah, because like think of a dating show. If you have fucking 10, 20 options, like you're not going to go for the first fucking one. You're going to sit back and be like, okay, I know I can have all 20 of these. Which one do I want? And that's usually the position that a hot girl's in. Yeah. And what I want the guy to do is get the girl in a position of like, oh, maybe I might lose this guy. This guy has other options. Other women want him. I want to compete. Just think about like an auction. Like your mentality in an auction is very different than when a traveling salesman shows up at your fucking doorstep and tries to sell
analogy.
you,
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck he wants to sell you.
Analogy.
Like when somebody tries to sell you, you're looking at what's wrong with the fucking thing. Let's say a business deal, all your buddies are getting into a business deal and there's like, the fucking thing is closing and like, you just want to get in. Like, how do I get in? And that's the way you want a woman looking at you is like, I don't want to lose this guy. He's got other women pursuing him. Not like, and another thing that guys do is they over communicate, their availability. They tell the girl, they over assure the girl, like, you're the only girl that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
They do that all the time.
Stupid
It's
as
like,
fuck.
Yeah, just because like that's what they want to hear, but that's not what's going to be effective with the girl. And so a lot of these guys like think like, okay, if this is what I would want to hear, that's what the girl would want to hear. And you're not in the same fucking position as a hot girl. Unless you're like a super fucking famous celebrity, and even then your mindset's different because the girl wants to like date a guy, the guy wants to fuck the girl. Like, don't try and think like, oh, just because if for me, it'll be true for her. That's just fucking wrong.
That's such a great point. You sitting there and saying like you're the only girl I'm talking to is like not the same as her saying that to you. Like it's her job to not be a slut. It's your job to be attractive, and if you're a slut by definition, whatever, who cares, right? As a guy.
it's just a very different thing. It's like the whole lock and key analogy, right? Like the fucking key that opens a bunch of locks is a good key. The fucking lock that can open all the keys is a shitty lock, right? So like because women have the choice, it's a very different thing. Like, if a girl's, been fucked by 100 guys, it fucking massively lowers her value. Yep. If a guy's had sex with 100 girls, it means that he's desirable, he's confident, he's probably decent in bed. Like, it says a lot of good things. He's done something right. It says a lot of good things, right? Yeah. And so I think it's one of those things where you just have to understand the difference in psychology between a woman and a man, and like this whole culture is pushed like everything is equal, men and women are the same. It's just like, and that fucks up guys' mentality. Like they kill masculinity. They're like doing all these things, which I think is another reason why men are having such a fucking bad time in the dating market, is because they're being programmed with all the shit that's like counter to the fucking truth, which is like masculinity's bad, like women want the super nice guy,
equal partners.
It's just all bullshit.
Stupid shit.
It's just all bullshit. That's why like the fucking girl is not always dating the fucking nice guy. There's like a line full of them at every fucking Walmart that are invisible to women. Like they don't want what they say that they want. They want the guy that's like, interesting, that they might not be able to get, the guy that's, going to be exciting. Like that's the things that girls go after. Like, and you see it in some movies. You see it in like the bullshit rom-coms where they're just like, put the gay guy in there and like shows up with the flowers and the fucking chocolates and gets the girl, which is just like absolute nonsense. But then sometimes there's more accurate depictions where like the girl ends up falling for the bad boy. And if you look at like the qualities that the bad boy has, that's something that's attractive to most women. So that's like one thing that Hollywood got right. But like most guys don't ever try and like, take on those qualities. They take on the qualities of like the main character, the fucking super nice guy that ends up with the girl. But that's just like, that's not how the real world works.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how popular media, movies, television, etc. Like they're just basically telling guys, yeah, be cucks and you'll get girls, and it's like, no, dude, that's not how it works. It's crazy to me how counterproductive mainstream media is with like telling guys how to actually be attractive, because what it takes to actually be attractive shows like unflattering realities about women that people don't want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, and you see it in the dating market, right? Like back 50 years ago, like the average guy got an average girl and everything was decent, and like it's like, the same thing with wealth. Like all these things have just been so polarized. Now it's like 5% of guys get all the girls and the rest of the guys have like fucking no shot.
Yeah.
And that's why I felt like I should do this, because I felt like there were so many guys just like quitting.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you next. Like, what made you like want to do this?
There's a guy I was like playing video games with, kind of fucking nerdy dude, didn't get a lot of, like didn't work out, like all this shit, and I just kind of like took him under my wing and like got him on HRT, got him in the fucking gym, like got him to stop smoking weed, and now he's got a girlfriend and she's fucking pregnant. He stopped smoking weed, he's working out all the time, like his entire life fucking changed.
Off you just giving him some tips.
Yeah, I didn't have to do that much, just to like kind of like point him in the right direction, like stop him from doing the same fucking mistakes that all these other guys make.
I know you mentioned this guy last time we spoke.
Yeah.
Cool. So you guys are still talking.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, he just got a girl pregnant, and he's like in a serious relationship. He's happy. Yeah, it's crazy. So.
And you're like, I need to scale this out and help more guys.
Well, I just felt like nobody was giving them the right information.
Yeah.
There was just so much bad information.
There's a lot, dude.
It's like you fucking get a bad map.
Because they censor you when you give this good information out. They'll say you're a misogynist. They'll ban you off TikTok. Me and you were talking about TikTok earlier.
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of it, but I also feel like there's not a lot of guys that have figured this out. Like, you really have to, like, go out there and just, like, figure out what works and what doesn't work, and the only way to do that is to have a big sample size. And I feel like a lot of these, like, male dating coaches, like, they have a lot of theory and, like, stuff sounds good, but, like, these guys don't get a lot of pussy.
Facts.
They're
not outside.
They're not. Like, you have to fuck, like, hundreds or thousands of girls to figure this shit out, It's kind of like one of these things where, since there is no fucking roadmap, there is no, like, established, like, right directions and wrong directions, everybody kind of like starts from fucking zero. Well, actually, now they don't start from zero. Back in our day, we started from fucking zero. Like, now they start fucking, from like a -50.
Yeah.
Because like they've been programmed with all this bad shit. So they have to like unlearn all the bad shit. And then, only then are they starting off at fucking baseline, coupled with the fact that women expect way more now. Like, they have these like crazy fucking delusions of what they deserve, or what's like, what's an average guy? Like, just like what they think is normal or average is so fucking skewed.
When I ask girls, how much money do you think an average guy makes on our show? Almost every time, $100,000 a year. Fucking crazy, bro. Like, the average guy is only making like 30 to 50K depending on where they live. But like, the average girl thinks the average guy is making $100,000 per year, which lets you know, like, a lot of these chicks like expect a lot off rip.
Yeah, and the problem is they go out there and they fuck all these 5% guys, and then they end up just like settling for some rich guy that's going to take care of them. And the rich guy thinks like he got this great girl, and the girl's like just with him so he'll pay her fucking bills, because she feels like she can't get one of these 5% guys to actually date her. So it's just like automatically that interaction sucks. And one of the things that I tell guys, like, you want to make a girl want to fuck you. There's girls that want to fuck guys, there's girls that want to date guys, and there's a combination, right? And I want guys in the bucket of like, the girl wants to date me and she also wants to fuck me.
Yep.
Or just that she wants to fuck me and then you can make her want to date you.
There you go. Yep.
But like, the category that you absolutely don't want to be in is the category of like, she wants to date me but she doesn't want to fuck me.
Yeah.
Because those are the guys that get taken advantage of.
Absolutely. And that's, guys, this is important shit, man. And I'm glad that we're like rehashing this, because you have to like drill this in a guy's head like so many times, because right now there's somebody watching that probably doesn't get sex from his girlfriend or his wife or his fiance. Like, she stopped fucking him and he's just letting her like, I'm still gonna marry her. It's like, no, dude, like, you're literally setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the biggest manipulation tactic ever. If a girl's ever just like, using her or blowjobs or something as like a tool to get what she wants, like, you're already in a fucking horrendous position. And I think a lot of guys don't realize like how they get in this position. It's like small little battles lost. It's like there's this fucking war for power going on, and small victories and small fucking defeats add up. And these guys, they'll just cave, or they'll be like, oh, happy wife, happy life. Like, let me just appease the wife. And it's like they appease them, into the point where like the girl loses respect for the guy and then cheats on him, and the guy just gets blindsided, has no idea where it came from. And I see that a lot, where these women, they just like subconsciously like lose, respect for the guys over time. And then the guy is just so surprised when she cheats on him. He's like, but I was such a good boyfriend, and I never cheated on her. I always told the truth, and I was there for her, and I did this, and I did that. And it's just like, you know, when you make too many sacrifices for a woman, they become expected and not appreciated. And a lot of guys end up in this category where they're just making more and more sacrifices, trying to win the girl's approval, and that's just actually subconsciously driving her away because she's never having to invest in the guy. She's never having to like do anything for the guy. So it just puts her in a constant state of like, okay, I know I can have this guy. Do I want him? And then she's looking for other options versus like when she's wondering, what's this guy doing? You know, like, you know, how do I get him to stop talking to this other girl? Like, you know, I want to make him, you know, mine. Like, I don't want him talking to other girls. Like all this stuff that makes her want to work for the guy. And the more you work for something, the more you value it. And I think a lot of guys are in these relationships where the woman isn't working for the guy at all. Yeah. And when you're in that spot, like I said, you don't really value things you don't work for.
Would you say that's the number one reason why women cheat? Because obviously a lot of girls have like cheated on their boyfriends with you, and you found out after the fact. Like, would you say that's like one of the top reasons why girls cheat?
I mean, it always starts with he was so nice, but. So I would say.
Fucking terrible.
I would say being bored. I think a lot of women get bored in a relationship. A lot of women like know that the guy's never going anywhere, that he doesn't really have any other options. Like he's completely invested. Not that that's like a bad thing. Is that, you know, to be dedicated to a woman. But be dedicated to a woman because you like her, not because you don't have other options.
Yeah.
You know,
you're choosing her versus you're just settling what you can.
Settling, yeah, exactly, for the low-hanging fruit. And I think a lot of guys end up in that spot. And if you're not willing to fucking walk, you're never going to have power. And I think a lot of these guys are not willing to walk.
Yeah.